This episode is officially entitled A Change of Heart. Wow. 160. I have no words except thank you. Whew. Oh yeah, I am crying. That's massive, bruh. 160 episodes. Oh snap, man. Whew. Where would I be without this show? Where would you be without this show? Let's cut to the intro, and then I'll get into the rest of what we're gonna talk about today. But yeah, 160. That's the occasion. So yeah, we're gonna talk about it. But before I get too emotional, here's the introduction. Hello there. What's up? My name is Nate. You're listening to Life Tips Podcast. Welcome. Everyday life topics with advice and tips for becoming a better you. This show is all about self-improvement. Each episode is unique to whatever you're going through, and it doesn't matter your youth or gender. Everyone can benefit. But the reality is that nobody is perfect. There's always going to be downfall with rising, and there's something to improve upon every single day. So if you want to make changes in your life, then follow along, and I'll help you take yesterday's mistakes and master them for a new tomorrow. Let's get started. All right. Before we get started with this episode today, if you are brand new to Life Tips, thank you. I look forward to impacting your life, and I pray that you take something that I've said to heart, jot it down in your notes, on your phone, in your notepad, wherever, and just plan to apply it to your life. If you are a current or faithful listener of the show who have been with us since day one, welcome back. I'm excited to continue this journey with you, and we hope that you continue to enjoy the show as you always do. All right, let's get started. Before we get into today's episode, here is a word from our sponsors. This episode of Life Tips Podcast is sponsored by
What's up, family? It's your hostess with the mostest, T the GOAT, from over at Powerfully Black and Excellent. It's the podcast that seeks to make your skinfolk, your kinfolk all across the nation, baby. Now, look, I'm not going to be on here for too long, but listen, if you're looking for a way to find out more about Black entrepreneurs and business professionals, we got you. If you're looking for a way to entertain yourself on a lazy Sunday, we got you. If you're looking for motivation, inspiration, or something that just puts that fire underneath you to make sure that you follow your passion, we got you over at Powerfully Black and Excellent. You can find us on almost all streaming platforms under the name Powerfully, Black and Excellent without the E. You know what I'm saying? But we launch a new episode every week on Sunday at 12 p.m. So if you're not listening to us, I don't know what you're doing. Come join the fam.
Hey, this is Phil Better from the podcast Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneurs Podcast. Have you ever wanted to be an entrepreneur? Have you heard about all those kids making money on the internet? Do you want to start making money on the internet? Go to investinyourselfpod.com, subscribe, and listen as I interview people who have actually made money online. Listen to me create a business and see if I can succeed. Catch new episodes every Tuesday at investinyourselfpod.com.
What's up, world? Welcome back to Life Tips Season 7. I'm your host, Nate, and I am an inspirational speaker. So much has taken place within the last week leading up to today. It's a Sunday that we are recording this, or I'm recording this. So, happy Father's Day to all who are fathers. I normally don't record on Father's Day, or Sundays for that matter, but, things happen. But 2 days prior was Juneteenth. That was on a Saturday, and the entire world recognized it because the government made it a national holiday. Of course, yesterday, from the time you're listening to this, Father's Day took place. And so again, happy belated Father's Day to all the fathers and to all the mothers who take up the role of father given their situation. Now, today's episode is all about the 160th episode of the show and how it has impacted the lives of some of the people who are a part of the show's history. But before we dive into that, I want to invite two people onto the show to share a little bit about their experience listening. And for the second one, she's going to also be discussing Juneteenth. So without further ado, let's welcome back Mrs. Latasha Tomlin from past seasons of Life Tips.
This was early on in the show, very early on. You and a gentleman, I can't remember his name either, but just talking about love from the male's perspective and really giving insight on the fact that men feel too. Rejection is hard for everybody. So for women, we're quick to tell a guy, no, leave me alone or whatever, being almost rude and curt about it. But the reality is it takes a whole lot of courage to be able to approach a woman. Mm-hmm. So the least we can do, even if we're not interested, is respond in a way that is caring.
Yeah, that was episode.
So that gave me new perspective.
Mm-hmm. That was episode. Mm-hmm. That was episode 2 of season 4 with Will. So, yeah.
That was probably, that might have been my all-time favorite. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Wow. So that's incredible. I believe. Let's see. I have a few favorites. Clearly, the very first episode was the very first episode. I actually recorded that at work on a break, and I was just. This was at my old job, and I was just recording. I did not know that episode would hit almost. I think we're almost at 60 plays there. Like 60 people have listened to that one episode, and that was the very first episode of the show ever. And I'm just sitting back like, wow. Now 90 plays. Episode from the first season, way back. Oh my gosh.
I don't know that I've heard it. I'm going to have to go back and check it out myself.
Because Latasha came through in season 3, so she missed season 2 and season 1. But season 3 of the show literally was the best season because it was in the middle of all the coronavirus craziness at the early start. And I loved Shinjini's episode the best in that season just because that was my first actual public figure that came on the show. So I was excited to get that one done. And then last year, I loved having my pastor on to start off episode 1 for season 4. So, Pastor Tina, Pastor Tina! Oh my goodness. I loved your episode where you just, shared your life with us, and oh my gosh. So, that would be my second favorite.
That was another very good one. Yes, I enjoyed that. I did hear that one.
Mm-hmm. And of course, you all loved hearing from my mom last week. Oh my goodness, everyone loved hearing from my mom last week. Whew, y'all blew that one up. But having my mom on the show was just crucial because she came on late, but she started listening during her morning walks. So, my mom is a fan of the show. She listens to the show now. So, I had to get my mom on the show, and I loved that one last week to end off season 4. That was just really good. Loved all the nuggets that my mom dropped in. Yeah, so shout out to my mom. Yay!
Yes, big shout out.
So, Life Tips Podcast is sponsored by Anchor.fm. And honestly, it's one of the best platforms on the planet. Literally, one of the best platforms on the planet. So, if you want to start your own podcast, but you're not sure how to do it, then here's how. The first thing you have to do is come up with the vision and plans for your show, including a name, an episode count, and main objective. After that, you'll need to come up with topics that will catch your listeners' attention and keep them interested. And of course, the last thing you will need is a hosting platform where Anchor comes in. It's free to download. You can make money from your show with no minimum listenership, and you can record using your iPhone, iPad, MacBook, etc., and there are many more tools that Anchor will provide you for you to take advantage of their resources in order to create freely. There is no studio or expensive equipment needed. So go to www.anchor.fm/start to get things rolling so you can get your show off the ground. I can't wait to hear what you come up with. Do you want to start your own podcast? If you do, great, I'm here for it. But you may ask, how do you do it? Well, that's the easy part. You first have to come up with the vision and plans for your show, including a name, episode count, and main objective. Secondly, you'll need to come up with topics that will catch your listeners' attention and keep them interested. The final thing you'll need is a hosting platform. That's where Anchor comes in. It's free to download. You can make money from your show with no minimum listenership. Record using your iPhone, iPad, or MacBook. And there are many more tools Anchor provides that you can take advantage of in order to create freely. No studio or expensive equipment needed. So if you're interested in getting your show off the ground, go to www.anchor.fm/start to get started with your amazing, new, unique show. I can't wait to hear what you'll come up with. Well, thank you, Latasha, for your words of wisdom and for sharing a little bit about how the show has impacted you so far. All right, y'all already know who I'm going to invite next. T the goat, yeah. All right, take it away, T the goat.
What is up, family? It's your hostess with the mostest, T the GOAT, from over at Powerfully Black and Excellent, the podcast that seeks to make your skin folk, your kinfolk, all across the nation, baby. And the podcast where Powerful Black and Excellent are just 3 of the elements that we use to describe each and every one of our guests. Now, I heard you guys were wondering a little bit about Juneteenth and its significance in the United States. So I'm going to talk about its significance for back when, it happened, and its significance today, or what I think its significance should be today. So, when the Emancipation Proclamation was signed by President Abraham Lincoln on September 22nd of 1862, this freed the Southern slaves, the slaves who had fought for freedom. This freed them. But if you were not a part of the Civil War of the United States, this was not for you. So if you lived in Maryland, who's on the Mason-Dixon line, where some of it was free and some of it was not, you were not free. The Emancipation Proclamation was not for you. Northern states, most slaves were presumed to be freed. Like, they were not slaves, they were freed black people. So in the northern states, they were freed, stuff like that. But it was kind of like a phase out sort of situation. So after majority of the slaves were freed, then they started freeing other states and stuff like that. On June 19th of 1865 is when the last few conglomerates of states found out that they were free, including Texas, which was 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed and put into order. As I said, Emancipation Proclamation was written on September 22nd of 1862, and it did not go into effect until January 1st of 1863. And all slaves were not released or did not find out that they were free until June 19th of 1865. So this day was made to commemorate the ending of slavery and that freedom. So that's how it was celebrated back then. But I think today, given the society that we live in, and given, how a lot of black people interact with each other today, I think that Juneteenth has another meaning. Right now, in the 21st century, in 2021, Juneteenth should be about unity. It should be about getting together, bringing together, and uplifting your community. It should be about stopping the violence. It should be about creating opportunities in your communities to help everyone thrive. It should be about fighting for equality. It should be about that family aspect. It should be about love, community. It should be about fighting for something that you believe in, fighting for something that should have already been given to us, should have already been afforded to us, but it isn't. And the reason why it isn't is because we in the black community, a lot of us allow for each other to disrespect one another. We allow the disrespect. But when it comes from other communities, we don't allow that. It's okay for us to do it within our own community, but when other people disrespect us, it's the problem. That should not be how it is. If we set the precedent for allowing ourselves to treat each other with respect within our community, then it will show other people that we deserve respect, that we are better than what society is trying to make us seem like. Now, I went to a pop-up shop yesterday, and all there was community, unity, love, supporting one another. I supported so many black vendors yesterday, it was ridiculous. But I enjoyed doing that because I know it all starts somewhere. So, in love, in light, in community, in unity, I leave you with those quick little tidbits about Juneteenth.
I'm the host of the Women Are Royalty podcast, where we have raw conversations with real women who walk according to a royal standard. You can find my show, Women Are Royalty, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, and iHeartRadio, which is really excited. I was really excited when they dropped on iHeartRadio. So yes, you can find it on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast.
Hey, it's T the GOAT. I'm biggity back to let you guys know a little bit about the Life Tip podcast and how it has impacted me within the past 6 months. I met your motivational speaker, Nate, through a friend on Facebook. And ever since then, Nate and I have been extremely close. Life Tips has really given me a different perspective. It has shown me how so many people are operating in life. It shows me that we are all human in the sense that each and every one of us has trials and tribulations. Each and every one of us goes through things. And each and every one of us has the strength and the resiliency to pop back in. I have a little notebook that I keep with some of the life tips that each and every guest drops, because I feel like they're important to my life. I'm the type of person where I'm a storyteller. I'm an observer. So I listen and I reflect and I put together pieces of everyone else's experiences in order to be able to create my own authentic experience. Life Tips helps me do that. Each and every person who gives tips on Life Tips has helped me create who I am today. And I am so excited for the 160th episode that is coming out. I'm so excited to see what is next to come for Nate and Life Tips. And if I could leave you guys with a Life Tips about Life Tips, it would be just to continue to listen, soak in all of the knowledge that you can, and use this knowledge in your everyday life. No one on Life Tips is going to lead you astray. No one on Life Tips is going to, tell you to do the wrong thing, because everyone on Life Tips wants to see you strive. So, yeah, you guys, continue to listen to Life Tips. Do what you can. Share it. Leave a review. Whatever you can. Help this become as big as I think it should be. As big as I think it should be. In love, light, and peace, T the GOAT is out.
Life Tips Podcast was created and launched in October of 2019, as you all know, following my 3-year stint going to and from open mics to speak. Of course, because of the pandemic, I've not been back to a single open mic just yet, but that time is 100% coming back, and I will be picking those back up very, very, very soon. The pandemic helped the show take off tremendously, and over the last several months in this year alone, we have experienced tremendous growth. The listenership has gone up, the downloads have gone up, and the topics have just been so amazing. However, there is one serious bit that we need to talk about before the show comes to a close for this particular episode, and that would be Chrissy Teigen. Her brand has near collapsed because of all the controversy she's in. Her husband, John Legend, even jumped in to defend her, which I find very courageous, because that is his wife. And regardless of what happened, Chrissy Teigen is still his wife, and that was the right thing to do. And as I've stated, there is absolutely no way this situation is going to impact her marriage to John Legend. Aside from the likelihood of her having bullied a young 15/16-year-old several years ago, I wasn't there. That's why I'm calling it a likelihood. It probably did happen. But that's just me stating what I'm seeing online. Again, I wasn't there. I'm not close to Chrissy Teigen, so I don't know for sure. But as for these other allegations, they're simply just that. Allegations. There's absolutely no way to prove anything happened without receipts. And some of those receipts could be doctored just like John was talking about. Because some people do hop on the bandwagon whenever controversy goes down, and they create stories within a global story simply for attention. Now hear me when I say this. Nobody can cause you to do anything. You are fully in control of you. Whoever this fashion designer guy is, he allowed himself to be overcome by and dwell on alleged words from Chrissy Teigen. And that caused him to get depressed, suicidal, etc., etc. Nobody should have that much power over your life unless you allow yourself to succumb to the negativity. All I'm saying is that before you reserve judgment on a situation, look at all of the facts, all of the people involved, and all of the scenarios before coming down with the hammer. And so, while it is best to expose yourself and not wait for something to blow up where the whole world knows what you did, allow me to open up the floodgates for a second. As you all know, throughout my life, I have struggled from a romantic standpoint. And as much as I talk about things and scenarios and give life tips and advice for all of you, I rarely end up telling you about myself and allowing my own story to shed light on what I really want to communicate to you all. I started out relationally flawed. In other words, I was a mess when it came to being in a relationship romantically. As a child who grew up in church, I was the resident stalker. Now, if you had talked to me a couple years ago, prior to 2017, I probably would not have mentioned this at all. But yes, I was the resident stalker. At 10. Fast forward to 15, 16. Those ages, I missed out on 3 opportunities with a friend, and the other with 2 cheerleaders that I had my eye on, and one ended up even liking me back. Fast forward a couple more years to 18 at Liberty, shot my shot with 2 cheerleaders, one in one semester and the other in the other semester. They were twin sisters. That failed, needless to say, because they were dating football players at that time. And then from 21 to 23, endless rejection by the masses. Of course, at 23, you all know, first girlfriend, a whole mess, but that can't possibly compare to the 2 years cycle, a seemingly endless cycle of back-to-back rejection from 23 to 24. Yeah. It's hard to be vulnerable and transparent sometimes, especially when it comes to the deepest parts of us, but it's just the truth. The way I treated young women in my past, it was just all kinds of wrong. And then on top of that, having carried around a truckload of anger and bitterness, it was enough to fill an 18-wheeler truck. That's how massive the anger and bitterness streak was. It had the potential to completely destroy whatever was going to come next. But thanks be to God, He turned it. From 25 to 26 and into today, I repeat, 25 into 26, and up until today that I'm recording this episode with you, I am thrilled and happy and elated to admit that I am no longer a train wreck in relationships. I met someone who took all my mess, all my crap, and all of my many, many, many issues and inexperience into consideration and still chose to claim me as her own. And although we took a slight break to work on ourselves, I bounced back with my own car, my full-time job, and now the opportunity of a lifetime to change my romantic relationship trajectory forever. You see, the Bible tells us not to judge or we will be judged. Matthew 7, verses 1 through 6. In fact, it reads in the NASB version, quote, "Do not judge so that you will not be judged," end quote. And those verses are in red because Jesus himself was speaking. Yes, there's something called righteous judgment, but 9 times out of 10, we as Christ followers don't take advantage of that. We just judge normally the way the rest of the world does, which is also known as cancel culture. And I can guarantee you right now, God is not on board with cancel culture. But what he is on board with is forgiveness and reconciliation if possible. But no. We're so quick to cancel someone for either making a mistake or for being called out and labeled as something that they used to be. You say, why do you say that, Nate? We all make mistakes. We all have a past. And luckily, there is a sea of forgetfulness that God has where we are not constantly brought under fire by him for the things that we used to do, prior to developing a relationship. Psalm 103, verse 12. As far as the east is from the west, so far he has removed our transgressions from us. Can you imagine if there was no Jesus? Can you imagine if there was no cross? Can you imagine if there was no forgiveness? Can you imagine if there was no heaven? We would be screwed in this life and the next. So before you sit here and tell me that Chrissy Teigen deserves to be canceled, take the plank out of your own eye and look at all the rotten crap you've done throughout your lifetime. We all have sinned and fallen short. Nobody is perfect, and nobody is immune to failure. The only person who is I am.
My name is Tyler Jennings, aka Poetic. I just recently published a book by the name of Anomaly. It's out right now on Amazon. Check it out right now on Amazon. It's called Anomaly by me, Tyler Jennings. It's my first published book, my first published body of work. I put a lot into this book. I feel like you guys will love it, and I want to share it with you all. And I hope you find something that resonates with you.
The internet is a powerful place and a wonderful, amazing force for good. I should know. I don't think I've told you this story before, but when I first got on social media all the way back in 2012, my goal was just to keep up with friends. But it just so happened that I had gone through a period of isolation at Liberty that sparked an intense moment of unapologetic internet meltdowns. And there were some other things that took place. There was a feud with a fellow classmate that went public on socials because of what she started. But I've since taken a look at her page, and all these years later, she seems to be doing fairly well for herself. And I am genuinely happy for her. The internet is where my blog was able to thrive, and social media was where my blog was able to thrive. And what do you know? All the problems, all the posts, all the time of having to sit back and self-reflect within me to correct a ton of issues birthed social media and the internet becoming a crucial part of the beginning stages of my platform as a motivational / inspirational speaker in 2017. And of course, both the internet and social media aided heavily in the expansion of my speaking career and Life Tips podcast overall. I've now spoken on 14 platforms to date, and I'm being invited to speak on many more, as is T the GOAT. And so our speaking careers are getting ready to take back off. The internet is also a place where our lives can be ruined if we don't take into consideration what we say or how we behave, i.e., Chrissy Teigen. So, as we move forward, remember this. And these are your life tips. I know you've been waiting a long time to hear them. You're probably like, where did they go? Oh, they're right here. Might want to get a pen and paper and write this down. Number 1, we're all human, so therefore we will make mistakes. Number 2, sin will never go away until Christ returns, but that doesn't mean sin at will, especially online. Should you have a platform like myself and T the Goat, then we would both urge you to use your platform to impact other people in a positive way versus impacting people in a negative light. Number 3, stop judging unrighteously. The only person that needs to do any judging is Christ. And that won't happen until the great white throne judgment. Up till then, there's still grace and mercy that abounds. Number 4, only if your name is in the Lamb's Book of Life can you truly say that I am spotless. Because again, there's something called the rapture. That is going to happen first. After that, 7 bowls of God's wrath, destruction of the earth. And then after that, great white throne judgment. And then the eternal reign of Christ forever. That has yet to happen. So until that actually happens, again, there's still grace and there's still mercy available. And since God continues to give us grace and mercy, not only as his children, but also to those who don't know him, to give time for them to switch sides, then maybe we should take a page out of God's book and at least try to give people the exact same courtesy by way of unconditional love, forgiveness, and reconciliation. Being able to move forward on a clean slate without bringing up the past. And so that covers all the bases of what I wanted to discuss in episode 12. It's been an amazing ride, an amazing season, but we are down to the final episode of number 7. So I will see you all next week for the season finale. Again, thank you to Latasha and thank you to T the Goat for your words. Happy 160 episodes to Life Tips. And I look forward to closing out the season with you next Monday. If you want to follow Life Tips on social media, we have a Facebook account and a Twitter account, both at Life Tips Podcast. If you would like to follow me on social media, You can find me on Instagram at Nate_the_speaker or _orator Nate. Or you can follow me on Facebook at The Wise Orator, or you can follow me on Twitter at auth_gen_person. That's it for this episode. See you next week.